Just wanted to say it before you could turn me off.
That's real nice of you to come out here every night. Finish your day this way. Didn't I meet this audience before?
Before I start telling these jokes, I'd like to remind you that they are part of my spring collection.
Another outburst like that, I will have the bailiff clear the chamber, ladies and gentlemen.
From the Chemical Heritage Foundation in the heart of historic Center City, Philadelphia, it's Supply Chain Tonight, starring Ken Kington. Supply Chain Tonight welcomes Arun Samuga, Gary Neights, and the Supply Chain Tonight Orchestra featuring Jimmy and the Canonicals. He's been on Comedy Central, Laugh USA, and Blue Collar Radio. Here's your host. Please welcome Ken Kington.
On demand, Vanna White, ladies and gentlemen. That was awesome. Well, it's great to be with you guys. And I did not make the Tonight Show, but I have been on Comedy Central, and all that other stuff is true. It is great to be with you guys. It really is. Believe that or not, Barry did a great job with that. I have no charts whatsoever, none, no statistics, none of that. But I am just thankful to get to be a part of this reveal in this sense that let me just take you on a journey here for a few minutes, okay? How many of you ever heard the phrase, "You can be anything you want to be"? Do you remember that phrase? What a crock that turned out to be, right? I wanted to play in the NBA. Turns out I'm short, I'm slow, and I can't jump. Not a good resume. I'll never forget my best friend in middle school. I'll call him Alan because that was his name. Alan, he's like, "Dude, I want to be a model." And I'm like, "Dude, you're ugly." Okay, so you can't be whatever you want to be. Now, let me just ask you this. How many of you grew up like this? How many of you were playing in your front yard and your buddies came over and said, "Hey, man, let's go play some football." And you go, "No, man, no. Hey, I'd rather I'm waiting on my mom to get back from the grocery store. I'm calculating her fuel cost right now to the grocery store. And I'm going to set up a chain to where we're going to put all the different groceries there. Why don't you come be a part of that? Be a part of that." Yeah, if that's you, then you are perfect for what you're doing right now. And as a child, you were weird. Okay, that's just not right. And I got to thinking, what else can I do? And think about this though. I want to give you a little bit of an idea of if you didn't do this, what would you be doing? Because the truth is you're really good at what you do. You're really great at this, and that's why you're here and interacting and collaborating, and that's great. And I will say this, after 25 years of doing comedy, there's only been one job that I've seen. I thought, if I didn't do this, I want to do that. And it was in Phoenix, Arizona. A guy picks me up in a convertible, and we're driving to the show, and I'm like, "Dude, this is great." I said, "Do you always leave the top down?" He's like, "Pretty much." I said, "What are you doing? It rains?" He said, "It only rains twice a year." And I'm like, "That's amazing." Stuck in my head. After the show, I go back to my hotel, I turn on the TV, and on the TV, I saw the job I would love to have. In Phoenix, Arizona, where it rains twice a year, they actually have a weatherman. I would love that job. Let's go to Canada Weather Center. Okay, if you look at the map here, you'll notice that we live in a desert. It's going to be hot tomorrow. I'm going to go on a limb and say, leave those umbrellas at home. Let's take a look at the 5-month forecast. It's just, wow. And then I got to thinking there's this extreme of jobs because several years ago, my wife, we have 2 boys and a little girl, and the little girl thought she had a fever. My wife said, "Oh my gosh, we got to check if she has a fever, and we don't have any of the baby supplies anymore." Now, if you've had a baby, how many of you have children? Raise your hands real quick. That's awesome. You know this then, with babies, you can't just take their temperature. You have to have a special thermometer, and we didn't have one. I ran to the grocery store. I got one of those. It's called a rectal thermometer, okay? And I took her temperature. She was okay, but in the process of that, I saw this one statement. Now, I want you to remember this. Next time you're having a bad day, I want you to remember this. Next time you're thinking, "I hate my job. I just hate working here. I hate it." I want you to remember this, because on that packaging, as I read through it to make sure I'm doing it correctly, it actually said this: "Each thermometer has been individually tested." job's not that bad. I'm just saying. I picture this poor guy coming home from work going, honey, what's wrong? Next week I gotta work overtime. It's one of those where it's like, you know what job's good? Now, I will say this too. I've actually had the privilege of meeting a lot of awesome people. And I've done several events with the NBA, and I met Shaquille O'Neal a few years ago, and I started dying laughing. And they said, why is it? What are you laughing about? I said, Shaquille O'Neal, what if they told him that growing up? You can be anything you want to be. No, he can't. What if Shaq's dream in life was to be a professional horse jockey? Can you imagine those horses? You can't be whatever you want to be. And then I think about all the choices we have. Do you realize we live in a society and a time that has more choices than any other society in the history of the world? Do you realize that? If you doubt me, let me ask you a question. When's the last time you sat in front of a TV with a remote control and went through 99 channels and there was nothing on? There's too many choices. And here's the problem. We're solving problems nobody has and answering questions nobody's asking. Hotels. How many of you stayed in a hotel last night? Quick show of hands. Awesome. Now, I love the fact you get a little shampoo and conditioner. All I want to do is sleep, take a shower. I love the shampoo and conditioner. I was at this very nice hotel a few months ago, though, and it was a problem I didn't have. I went to grab the shampoo and conditioner, and they didn't have shampoo and conditioner. They didn't have 2 bottles. They had 3. I'm like, what is this? And I looked, and none of them said shampoo and conditioner. It said wash, tame, soften. What the crud is this? And I'm like, but I'm in a hurry, so I grab them, and I get in the shower. I'm like, apparently my hair is dirty and wild and insensitive or something, so I'm thinking wash. Surely that's the shampoo, and I'm pretty sure it was the shampoo. Tame, maybe the conditioner. I'm hoping, I think it was the conditioner. Soften. I didn't even know I was supposed to soften. Maybe that's why I'm losing my hair, so I soften. Turns out that's a lotion. And I called the front desk. I said, you got a bottle of Fix It? Because my hair is... And there's too many, and we're inventing new choices every day we do not need. I'll give you my favorite example. Every October, my children, they come in and they mock me with this. Tube of candy, been on 8 years now. Tube of candy, Dad, here's your favorite candy. Oh. And a tube of candy, mini M&Ms. Have you seen them? Why? Why did we need that choice? Or people sitting around eating regular M&Ms going, oh dang, I can't finish a whole one. Just wish they would make these smaller. Put that in some foil and eat the rest of that later. That'd be great. And then once we do need help with, there's not. Now I will say this, how many of you were at the dinner last night? The dinner last night? Awesome, wasn't that great? Wasn't that great? I loved it on a couple levels. One, the food was fantastic. Scenery was amazing, but I loved it for this reason. That every one of us, I don't care if you're married or not, I don't care if you're from another country or not, you've been in a car in the last 30 days with a friend, a spouse, or a coworker, and you have had this conversation. So where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't care. What do you feel like? I don't know. What do you want? Doesn't matter to me. What do you want? How about pizza? I don't want that. You could drive around for days. And the thing is to just not have to make a choice and have that there, to simplify it down. I'll say this, I'm getting older. I'm getting older and I want simple. And older doesn't bother me anymore. Last year I had a gentleman at a show. They said, hey, this guy's showed him, and he's 103 years old. And I'm like, I want to meet him, bring him back here. Bring him backstage. I'm like, dude, 103, you've seen so much. I said, what is the best part of being 103? And he goes, that's easy. I said, really? And he goes, yeah, no peer pressure. I said, dude, that is amazing. I said, I have never used someone else's material, but can I have that? And he said, I don't care, I won't remember. Yes. And it's about not only that perspective, but that perspective of what's really important. And do I have access to what's really important? And can I discern what's important and what's not? I was at another corporate event in Montgomery, Alabama. The president, I got to meet her before the event, and she just said, I'm doing better. I said, why better? She goes, well, my father passed on this year. I'm so sorry. Her son-in-law was also in the company, and he said, she tell you about her dad? I said, yeah. He said, she tell you about the hospital? I said, no. He says, Ken, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. He says, we're planning his funeral with him a week before he passed. And he said, he's in the corner just sitting there with his oxygen mask on, eyes closed. And he says, she's asking him questions, and somehow she's getting answers. I'm watching him. And I'm not saying anything. Dad, you want us to sing that song? Okay, we'll sing that one. And, oh, you love that verse. You want us to sing it? Okay, we'll read that one. And there's 10 questions. He said, Papa was just sitting there till the last question. The last question, she said, Dad, we'll do whatever you want to do, but I can't make this decision. We'll do whatever you want. Do you want to be cremated or do you want to be buried? And he said, for the first time, his eyes shot open. And he took 2 big, deep breaths. He said he pulled the mask off his face, looked at everybody, and just went, surprise me, and put it back on his face. Like, that is awesome. That's the way I want to be. And it's one of those where it's like, okay, what's really important? And how do we make these decisions? And I want to, before I bring my first guest up, I want to just give you an illustration, an example of what it means of focus. Because this new product, this new is really about focus. And not only focus, but focus on what's important. And to have those at our fingertips. A few years ago, my sons were little bitty guys. They were 3 and 4. And where we went on Sundays to church, we decided to have an Easter egg hunt. And they said, we want to have a big Easter egg hunt. Had the biggest one in our area. A little church, but big Easter egg hunt. We collected over 3,000 Easter eggs for this Easter egg hunt. And that Sunday, it rained. We could not do it outside. So we got this little elementary school gym. It is literally about the size of this room. Now picture this room with no bleachers, just a floor. And we hid 3,000 Easter eggs on this floor. There were 38 children hunting the Easter eggs. Do the math on that real fast, okay? If your kid does not have a full basket, he is a loser, okay? That's how many eggs there are. And they let them go by age. And I'll never forget this. My son was 3 of them, and they're 3 and 4, and my 3-year-old said, Dad, can I go? And I'm like, you gotta wait till they say go. They said, okay, 1-year-olds go, 2-year-olds go. They said, 3-year-olds, are you ready? And he's like, Dad, can I? I said, wait till they say go. Now, you gotta understand, we're at the baseline. There are hundreds of eggs right here. And they said, 3-year-olds go. He starts running. Crushing eggs, kicking eggs. He gets to the middle of the floor and he reaches down, turns around and he goes, I found one! Great. Get another one. And there's hundreds right here. And he looks around, he starts running again and crushing eggs. I'm like, oh. And then I let the other kids go and it became chaos and it just was awesome. My oldest son came up, basket, eggs falling out, it's so full. And Cody, my middle son, walks up to my blind spot. He goes, Dad, I got him. I got him. And I'm like, good, that's great. And I turned around and went, whoa. He had a basket full, not of Easter eggs. He had a basket full of only purple Easter eggs, his favorite color. See, he wasn't distracted by the thousands of other items out there, the different colors. He knew his favorite. He knew what was important, and that's what he was going after. That focus, that ability to focus is really, I've had the privilege of being in front of athletes and companies and politicians, and there's another job, I think, really, why would you want that job? And I did the political caucus a couple years ago. And the first thing I said is, really, this is what you dreamed of doing? Really? The first day on the job, half the people you serve hate you. That's the job you want. And I just got to thinking of what you do. Now, this is really cool. That I'm going to interview a couple of the guys with this piece because it's about making it simple. It's about making it important and finding answers and solutions to problems that people really have. So to do that, the Tonight Show, they would have somebody like Madonna or Brianna. And for us, we have a gentleman from R&D, and we're just going to call him by one name as well. So make welcome with me, Arun. Come on up, Arun. Up there. Come on in and sit down. Excellent.
Good morning.
Have a seat. Great to see you as well. As you can tell from Arun, how many of you have ever met Arun? Raise your hands, met Arun? Awesome. Now, how many of you, I gotta ask this, how many of you have actually seen him on a video on the site? Anybody there? All 4 of your peeps are here. That's awesome. You're like famous. He's gonna be doing an autograph signing afterwards. That's gonna be great. But with this, Arun is in R&D, and I wanna just kind of lead you through a couple questions as far as kind of where this came from and the big picture, okay?
Sure.
Okay, first tell everybody where you are from originally.
I am a southerner.
A southerner.
Yeah, I'm
From Mississippi.
South of India.
South of
Yeah.
the southern part of India.
There is like 4th of July in India, right?
Yeah.
Like what we don't have is the 30th of February.
Okay.
Yeah, so
In India. Okay, well, to the thing here, what are some of the specific challenges as far as visibility? We can't control, we can't see. So what are some of the challenges of visibility in the supply chain in regard to what these folks deal with every day?
yeah, I think it's a good question. What I liked about what you said was how leaders are able to clearly see what's important and act upon them. And Barry earlier spoke about collaboration and visibility and how it's important. So if you put these two things together, I think visibility is foundational, and it's extremely important to have unprecedented visibility in order for companies to succeed.
Okay, so what are the dynamics involved? What are some of the pieces that are happening today that maybe didn't happen 20 years ago that really challenge that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look back, especially in the last 10 years, that's what I can speak to based on my experience, there is a rise in globalization, there's a rise in complexity. I remember this 4 or 5 years ago, I was looking at a list of companies that needed to be enabled on the Elemica network, and one of them stood out. It took me about 3 months to pronounce. It was Nizhny Kamsk Neftakim.
Are you making that up, or did you just sneeze?
It's actually a company. You can look them up if you can type and search. It's not easy to spell it either. So it might take you a few days to get there on Google. But the key is, I mean, there are companies, they're global, there's shipments going all over the world, different time frames, different cultures, different policies, different processes, and different systems. So this whole landscape is extremely complex, and globalization has kind of made it a little more complex, if I may.
Okay, so what are some of the factors that impact what these folks deal with on a regular basis?
And I'm sure most people here can relate to it. I think these are the standard supply chain problems, especially around lead time variability is a big one. I'm sure people who have global shipments or long haul shipments definitely see it on a daily basis. Then there is the constant pressure to have operational efficiency and accuracy. How compliant are my suppliers? How well am I servicing my customers, and so on. Then there is this constant push again to reduce your inventory, reduce your working capital, reduce costs. Supply chain execution costs, you want to be able to clearly know how much is an invoice automation going to cost you. What are the costs of exchanging particular messages with other trading partners, and so on. And finally, if you look at the outside-in supply chain, and you want to focus on your external trading partners, then it's this mix and characteristics, the quality and the number of trading partners you've enabled. And in some cases it's dynamic, and in some cases it's static, but the world around them is constantly changing as well. So all these, this interplay between these factors kind of create a very unique case of complexity.
Okay, so what are the keys to the solution then? As far as the complexity and globalization, what would you say are the keys to the solution, big picture-wise?
Yeah, I think, I was talking to Ralph Carr from BASF yesterday. One thing you mentioned kind of stood out was the alternative fuel and alternative energy industry specifically. They have to build in flexibility from the bottom up. They need to be way too agile and responsive in order to meet peak load demands, especially around the consumption of energy. So they're modeled bottom up, I mean, from the systems, their processes, and their engagement with their trading partners and customers needs to have agility and responsiveness built in.
Okay, so agility and responsiveness and flexibility, because that's going to be ever changing.
Exactly, and if not, you already have a lot of problems, and as you rightfully said, your son went and picked up the purple ones, right? So assuming you know what is important and you have good leaders who can help you identify that, there are still things that are outside of your control that come in play, and then it messes up the whole situation. NSA being one of them.
No, they're here to protect us, not to cause problems.
Sure.
So, Elemica, which is, for those of you who don't know Spanish for the Emica.
Did you just make that up?
I did, that's right here, that just hit me, that was awesome. Sometimes I wake up and do that. For Elemica, so how are you guys, let me put it this way, if you could put it into one sentence or a simple statement, how are you addressing this? What does that look like?
I would have to seriously think about it, because taking a complex problem and fitting it into one sentence is not trivial, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay.
I think we need to focus on dynamic collaboration and visibility. I think those are the cornerstones to where we are headed. To give a little bit of a background, we built our supply chain operating network from the ground up. We employ powerful cloud computing techniques on our infrastructure as a service layer. And then on top of that, we built reusable services to automate business processes. And all this is supported by our universal business concept-driven data model, where you can take a complex problem, break it down into small parts, mix and match them in a way where you can achieve correlation across different events. You can look at the whole landscape around the complete end-to-end process, not just a part of the process, across different partners, as well as go deep from a transaction automation perspective that leads into the business process. So we not only covered the whole gamut with regards to the breadth of trading partners, but also across processes and the depth within a process. So our solution actually is built upon these robust foundations. And I think with that, I'd like to basically close maybe by saying that, we start off with the descriptive analytics layer. So from the bottom up, infrastructure, application, integration, analytics, and then we start with the descriptive, and then we go to the predictive, and eventually end up with the prescriptive. So with that, I'd like to reveal our product.
Okay, but I want you to restate that statement again, though, because it was the visibility, say that statement
It's
again.
the D word, it's the dynamic collaboration.
Dynamic collaboration.
And the V word, the
Visibility. Very good. Awesome. Well, that was tremendous. Before I bring my other guest up, TV shows, they have what's called a follow spot. And that's the way they bring guests on. And Gary demanded one, and we didn't have one. So what we have is we have flashlights. So everybody take your flashlights, turn them on, aim them at Gary, and welcome Gary Neights to the stage. There we go. This fellow. That was so cool.
Great to be on the show.
You had the cool guitar music. This is Arun. You work with him.
Good to see you guys.
Did you go to the same hair salon?
We did, yeah. Well, last night, we got the mani-pedi.
That's awesome. Do you have to shave your head to work at Elemica?
I actually do. It's one of Rich's requirements.
Once you're the CEO, you know how you let it grow.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It's actually a more complex strategy.
Dynamic.
It's called managing. It's actually reducing management overhead.
I wish we had a rim shot. That was actually reducing management overhead. So Gary, you're from Atlanta, but you're not coming from Atlanta. Where are you coming from?
Well, actually, I'm from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia?
But I made it here by way of Nashville, and I was in Tokyo, then Osaka, then Seoul, then Atlanta. Then I just flew in from Nashville yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were you doing in Nashville?
Well, I was talking about order to cash with folks.
Ordering cash.
No. Well,
it's a new product. You insert cash, comes out of your machine. That's awesome. Where do we sign up?
No. Order to cash.
Order to cash.
Order to cash. The order to cash process. Have you ever heard of that one?
Is that like an ATM or?
Well, it's sort of. You know, for a supplier, you know, when they get an order, they get cash, right?
Okay, eventually.
Eventually,
hopefully,
yes. Well, but
That's the idea.
That's the idea behind it. But let me break it down because it's a little more complicated than that.
Okay.
You know, because first everyone has to agree, the customer, the supplier, you know, what are the products to order? What's the delivery date? What are the quantities that they need? You know, getting into demand forecasting.
That never
things
changes,
like
right?
that. Yeah, it never changes. Where are they going to source it from? They have to arrange transportation. You know, when they pull the product to ship it, they have to send a ship notice out, an invoice, there's shipment status messages floating around. Then finally, they get the cash.
Okay.
Or hopefully they get the cash.
Right.
Hopefully they get it on time. And it can be kind of chaotic, though, if you think about it, because you might have the order coming in as an email. There could be XML files. What's that on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, so
That's what the process looks like.
That's what the process looks like, and it can be, you know, pretty confusing if you have information you want to get out of there. It can be hard to find it. You know, there's purple eggs, or like you were talking about with your son. There might be some nuggets in there that you want to get. So what we want to reveal today is a better way of doing that. With our next generation quick link platform, we have our control tower, and the control tower is a screen that allows you to pull together everything related to a business process. In this case, it's the order to cash process. So let's say, just for example, that I'm in Crimerica Industries and I'm having a problem with an invoice. An invoice hasn't been paid. So what I can do is use the control tower to first search for that invoice and find out what are all of the documents associated with it. So in this case, now the screen is filled, you can see that in the center of it are the process steps from order to cash. In the upper left is the ordering, down through the lower right is the cash coming from the bank back to the supplier.
So is red good or bad?
Red's bad.
Okay.
Red's bad.
So if I'm not getting paid or the shipment's slowed down or something, does it automatically, explain that?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, payment might be late for a number of different reasons.
Okay.
It could be the invoice didn't get there. Could be the goods didn't get there. Could be something else. So let's look at that. What is that? That load tender is red there. So it looks like as a part of this order, 4 load tenders were sent. The last one had a problem with it. Let's look at the load tender response. Okay, yep. So it looks like one of the load tenders didn't get sent, but I'm not sure if that would cause the invoice problem or not. Maybe we take a look at the invoice. Okay, that's the invoice, $25,000. That's a lot of money. Let's go back again. But I think I see the problem. Down in the lower left-hand corner, I see that the payment signal has gone from the customer to their bank, but it's simply, the problem in this case is that the payment hasn't made it from the supplier's bank to the customer's bank, or the customer's bank to the supplier's bank.
So you just took all those different components, shipping, that whole deal, and now you've got it on one screen, and I can pull anything I want out of there.
That's right, and it's all based on what Arun talked about earlier, these universal business concepts. We have the data stored in our next generation platform in a way that we can very quickly pull it all together across from all the different systems that it's going to be transmitted from. And also we pull out key performance indicators on the right-hand side. In this case, for the order to cash process, what was the order date? What was the date that the supplier confirmed the order? What was the requested delivery date, the promise date, the actual? We put it all together. Across the top, we have the labels for what things are called in the various systems. The customer will look at an order as a purchase order number, the supplier as a sales order number, the carrier as a shipment ID. If you have to call up one of those people, you have all the information there right at your fingertips.
So I can actually pull up my PO number, and it's going to give me their order number, the tracking numbers, and all that other stuff.
You got it.
So all I got to know is my part.
You just have to know your part. It's going to go in and figure it out for you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What are some of the other features that are going to make their life better?
Yeah, there's quite a few here. I mean, this could be used at a business level to get this view. For a technology team, if they were in the details of a message trying to research it, they could use this to pull together all the associated documents and drill into the details of the EDI and XML and try to troubleshoot problems during an implementation.
Do you need to know all those letters, or does everything have to have an acronym?
No. Click on, show us the invoice again there. You know, we actually give you, we put that power in your control. So a business person might look at it in this view, but we could also then drill into the actual details of those letters for those people that care about it.
That's awesome. So now the big question is, I get older, and it's just one of those pieces where my kids are always, oh, this is great. I'm like, I don't have time for the learning curve. I know what I need. If it makes it easier, great. And I remember when the iPhones first came out, I'm like, you know what, all I want to do is make phone calls and text. And then I saw how easy it was to use. And then I brought my GPS on my phone, and then I brought my credit card machine on my phone. I got it all there. Now it's in one, and it really did make my life easier. Sure. What is the learning curve on this? So if I'm like, okay, I love that, but I can't learn a new trick. What is the learning curve on this?
We designed this from the ground up to actually require no additional integration other than getting on a new platform, and the learning curve is virtually zero. Because all you have to do is type your data into it. It's going to know who you are. When you hit search, it's going to go look for it and pull it in. It also has more advanced features that if you really want to search with wildcards and things like that, you can, but we made it so zero learning curve.
Wow. And in your platform, it sits on top of that. So it's ready to go now.
It's ready to go now. Yep.
Okay.
Just if you get on our new next generation platform, it's there.
All right, well, I'm going to let you guys comment big picture on anything else, but here's the cool part. These guys in this break, they're going to be up front, and if you have some specific questions, they'll do that. During the breakout sessions, they're going to be doing one of the breakout sessions, so you can drill down as many specific questions as you want on this. Ask them, though, what about my this? What about this? Give them your specific situation and see how that leads up. But just on the surface of it, does this look like something that you're like, okay, I can see where that could definitely help out with where I'm going? It's a dashboard. It's taking what we do and making it easier. And I hope that makes it easier for you guys. So without further ado, we're going to go into a break time. They're going to lead us into that. You're going to have a chance to ask these guys any other things, any other specifics about this, Arun, that you think, okay, if they knew this would be a great feature, or if they had this piece of information, this is something that they would love.
I think I'd like to also kind of close it a little bit. At the end of the day, I mean, why are we even doing this, right? I mean, we understand visibility, we understand collaboration, but the reality is that you want to achieve seamless integration between supply and demand on both sides, right? You want to achieve seamless integration between these by accounting for movement of goods, movement of information, and movement of funds in a way that is easy to understand, in a way that provides visibility bottom up. And I think that's the key to gaining control over your supply chain.
How about you, Gary? Anything?
I think the key thing is that we took a very user-focused view, voice of the customer, for the order to cash process here specifically, working with CSR managers to make sure we are surfacing the right information that they need at the time of need.
Well, I think that's great. And if you took what Barry said and you took all those charts and graphs and details that he shared up there, I think you're going to see where this is going to be one of those major leaps towards the collaborative process and letting those at a higher level go, this really is a great step that we can take now to do that. So I hope you'll take advantage of these guys here. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it was the most unique reveal you've ever seen. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your conference. Have a great break. Thanks for being here.
Pros to know are available now, located at the back of this hall.